The Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. If you want to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian. Got a couple of tidbits here. We just found out that U.S. coronavirus cases reach 82,404, which is the most in the world. We passed China, although that's total nonsense. China was not being truthful about the number of coronavirus cases. It stretches credibility to say that we here in the United States, with a population of 300 and something million, have more coronavirus cases than China, that has a population of 1.4 billion, especially since it started there. So that doesn't make any sense. But nonetheless, according to the reported data, we now have the most in the world. Also, we talked earlier about how the stock market has rallied now 20% from the bottom. I got a news alert from the Wall Street Journal. It says, breaking news. A new bull market has begun. The Dow has rallied more than 20% since hitting a low 3 days ago, ending the shortest bear market ever. It's over. It's all over. Just go back to what you were doing. I don't think it's over. Let's talk about, should you withdraw from your IRA to pay down debt? Money that is taken out of an IRA early, which is before the age of 59 and a half, must be transferred to another retirement account within 60 days to be a non-taxable rollover. Otherwise, you pay penalties and taxes. I have experience doing a rollover. It sounds complicated, but it's not that hard. Withdrawing money early from a 401k comes with a 10% penalty. And you also have to pay taxes, but the IRS usually withholds 20% automatically. And a lot of people don't take this into a consideration, but if you withdraw money from your IRA or your 401k, then that's considered income, and it could bump you into a higher tax bracket. Okay. Taking money out of a traditional IRA also has a 10% penalty. The government does not withhold money when you do that, but you still have to pay tax on the amount that you took out. A Roth IRA, there's no taxes on the way out, but you have to pay the 10% early withdrawal if you're not 59 and a half. There's a whole bunch of rules on this. There's a whole bunch of exceptions. I have not committed them to memory, but some of the exceptions are if you're active duty military, if you have large medical expenses. There's even a hardship distribution for immediate and heavy financial need. But I do want to talk about this idea that you can go into your retirement accounts to pay down debt. And the answer is you should pretty much never do this. You should not do this. One reason is it's expensive. You get hit with penalties. I mean, and depending on the size of your, some people have large 401ks. They've been contributing $19,000 a year for the past 20 years. They've had growth. They have $300,000 or $400,000 in a 401k, and you withdraw half of that and you pay a 10% penalty. I mean, that's $15,000. You have to want the money pretty bad in order to want to pay that penalty for no reason. Like, okay, I'm signing up to pay taxes for no reason. Like, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Like, things have to be pretty desperate for you to do that. Okay, and it's just, I guess what I would say is don't put yourself in a position where you would ever need to do that. Your retirement funds are for your retirement. They are not emergency funds. When you put money into a 401k or an IRA, the assumption is when you put the money in that you are not going to need it for 40 years. Okay. If you think you're going to need that money sooner, then you shouldn't put it in a retirement account. You should put it in emergency funds. Yesterday, we spent a whole bunch of time talking about emergency funds, about how you calculate your cost of carry. your fixed charges, your mortgage, your car loan, your food, your utilities, all that stuff. And you calculate up your expenses. And if your expenses are $4,000 a month, then you should have $24,000 in emergency funds. If you have the right amount of emergency funds, then you should never have to dip into a 401k or an IRA. There are, of course, exceptions. And like I said, there's situations that are pretty dire, like extreme medical expenses for sure. If you need a life-saving medical treatment, then just pay the 10% penalty and move on. And it's unfortunate because you're destroying your retirement, but if it comes down to life or death, then okay, just pay the 10%. But aside from that, you should build up emergency funds. And I do want to talk a little bit more about emergency funds. You know, at a minimum, you should have $10,000 or 6 months worth of expenses. I am really okay with having just gross amounts of emergency funds, like way more than you need. And if that means that your retirement savings suffer a little bit, it might actually be for the best, because you never know what is going to happen. And we are seeing that today. You cannot predict what is going to happen. Who knew that we were going to have this killer virus roaming the earth? Nobody could have seen this coming. So here is how retirement accounts work. You earn interest or capital gains, and then you get interest on interest, and it compounds over time. If you interrupt the compounding, then the magic stops. So you should really, really try to avoid raiding your retirement accounts. You pay down debt by spending less and saving more, and you pay it down over time. Let me tell you what happens if you raid the 401k to pay down debt. You will pay down debt, but then once you're paying down the debt will grow again, and you won't have any retirement funds to pay it down with. And that's typically what happens. People who have debt problems, I mean, you can take care of the problem on a short-term basis, but the problem comes back. And then you are paying this penalty, which is large. You might say, well, 10%, that's not that bad. Okay, 10% of 300,000 is a lot, right? If you are worried about situations like this, then build up a huge emergency funds. I think the technical definition is gross amounts of money in your emergency funds. My guess is that the debt is not an emergency. The debt is the result of overspending, or it's the result of the big stuff. It's a result of the house, the car, and the student loans. But these are problems. These are man-made problems. These are not emergencies. These are man-made problems. Probably the best case scenario, you'll have to stop contributing to your retirement accounts for a while. The penalty is a tax. There is no reason to pay a tax for who voluntarily pays taxes. I am not in the mood to pay a tax for no reason. It could end up being a lot of money. And again, in extreme situations, you can do this, but I very much advise against it. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
Jared Dillian. Now you know a rich guy.